There are unsolved crimes. There are cold cases. There are mysteries that linger for years before fading quietly into the archives of forgotten history. And then there is the Zodiac killer, a case that belongs in an entirely different category, a category that only one name in the entire history of American crime has ever occupied. For over 5 decades, the man behind the crosshair symbol has haunted the San Francisco Bay Area, the true crime community, and the collective imagination of the entire United States, with a fury that time has done absolutely nothing to diminish. He killed at least 5 people. He claimed to have killed 37. He sent coded letters to newspapers taunting police, threatened to blow up school buses full of children, declared that his victims would be his slaves in the afterlife. And then, one day in 1974, he simply stopped writing. No arrest, no confession, no name, no face. Just a crosshair symbol drawn in blood, and a nation left staring at it for the rest of eternity, wondering who was behind it. The killings began on a cold December night in 1968. The Zodiac killer murdered at least 5 people in the San Francisco Bay Area between December 1968 and October 1969, attacking 3 couples and a cab driver in Berryessa, Vallejo, unincorporated Napa County, and the city of San Francisco. His first victims were David Faraday, 17, and Betty Lou Jensen, 16. 2 teenagers on a first date, parked at a lover's lane on Lake Herman Road in Berryessa on the night of December 20th, 1968. They were shot without warning by a man who simply walked up to their car in the darkness and opened fire. Faraday was shot in the head. Jensen ran and was shot 5 times in the back before she could escape. They had done nothing wrong. They were just 2 teenagers on a first date, in the wrong place at the wrong moment. A motorist found their bodies. Faraday died at the hospital, and the Zodiac had begun. Fox News. The attacks continued through 1969 with terrifying regularity. On July 4th, Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau were shot at a Vallejo park. Ferrin died, Mageau survived, and described the attacker as a heavy-set white man, around 5 feet 8 inches tall, with a large face and curly light brown hair. Then on September 27th at Lake Berryessa, a beautiful, sunlit recreational lake in Napa County, the Zodiac appeared in a deeply disturbing costume, wearing a hooded executioner's mask with the crosshair symbol drawn on the chest, and attacked Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard with a bayonet-style knife after tying them up. Shepard died 2 days later. Hartnell survived and became one of the most haunting witnesses in American true crime history. 2 weeks after that, on October 11th, San Francisco cab driver Paul Stein was shot in the head while driving a passenger who gave a false address. Witnesses in a nearby house watched from their window in horror as the killer calmly took pieces of Stein's shirt before walking away into the Presidio district of San Francisco and disappearing into the night. Despite a police cordon thrown up within minutes, he was never found. But it was not just the murders that made the Zodiac different from every other serial killer in American history. It was what he did afterward. In a series of letters mailed to Bay Area newspapers, the Zodiac took credit for the murders, described details known only to police, threatened bombings, and more murders if the newspapers did not print his letters, and included cryptograms, coded messages, that he claimed would reveal his identity if cracked. The letters were written with a chilling, casual confidence, the voice of a man who genuinely believed he was smarter than every detective, every codebreaker, and every investigator the United States could deploy against him. He signed each letter with his crosshair symbol. He called himself the Zodiac. And he was right about one thing. For over 50 years, no one proved him wrong. News Nation. The Zodiac sent 4 main coded messages to the press. The first cipher, known as the Z408, was quickly solved by a civilian couple in 1969. Its contents were chilling. a rambling declaration of the thrill of killing, claiming his victims would be his slaves in the afterlife. But the next 3 ciphers were far more resistant. The Z340, a complex 340-character cipher that many believed contained the Zodiac's name, defeated the world's finest codebreakers for over half a century. The NSA attempted it. Amateur cryptographers spent decades on it. It seemed genuinely unbreakable. Then, in 2020, a team of civilian code breakers finally cracked the Z340 after 51 years. But the decoded message contained no name, only more taunting declarations about killing and the thrill of hunting. 2 shorter ciphers, the Z13 and Z32 Tworst, are still considered officially unsolved and may hold the killer's name or other critical details. News Nation +2. The question of who the Zodiac actually was has consumed investigators, amateur sleuths, retired detectives, forensic experts, and obsessive civilians for over 5 decades. The only suspect authorities ever publicly named was Arthur Lee Allen, a former elementary school teacher and convicted sex offender who died in 1992. Several of his friends claimed he had called himself the Zodiac, that he liked to shoot young couples in lovers' lanes, and that he had aspirations to write a book about a character named Zodiac. But when DNA testing was conducted on saliva from stamps and envelopes of the Zodiac's letters in 2002, Allen's DNA was not a match. He died without ever being charged, and the case went cold again. By April 2004, the SFPD cited caseload pressure and marked the Zodiac case inactive, though they subsequently reopened it in 2007. Other suspects emerged over the years. Gary Francis Post, a California house painter who died in 2018, was named by the independent Casebreakers group. Author Jarrett Kobek pointed to Paul Dorr in his 2022 book. But no arrest, no DNA match, no closure. Fox News. Then, in 2025 and 2026, the case took a breathtaking new turn that shocked even the most jaded true crime veterans. Independent investigator Alex Baber, co-founder of Cold Cases Consultants of America, claimed to have cracked the Zodiac's Z13 cipher using artificial intelligence software and self-taught cryptography. And what he found shook the entire true crime world. Baber claimed the 13-character Z13 cipher decoded to read Marvin Merrill, an alias for Marvin Margolis, a man who had dated Black Dahlia victim Elizabeth Short in the 1940s and had been on the LAPD's suspect list after her 1947 murder. Margolis was a former military man who served in World War II, was buried alive in a cave in Okinawa, and forced to dig himself out. An experience that left him described by those who knew him as resentful and with a deep affinity for aggression. Baber presented his findings to multiple law enforcement agencies, and in May 2026, the LAPD confirmed they were testing possible evidence, including Margolis's government fingerprint card from 1943. No agency has yet officially confirmed the conclusions. Margolis has not been named as a Zodiac suspect by law enforcement. But for the first time in decades, a specific piece of physical evidence is being actively tested against a specific named suspect. And the true crime world is holding its collective breath. CU Independent +2. As of 2026, law enforcement is actively using forensic genetic genealogy and advanced DNA technology to analyze evidence from the Zodiac's taunting letters and cryptic ciphers. The same technique that identified the Golden State Killer in 2018 after more than 4 decades of anonymity. The California Department of Justice, the FBI, and multiple county sheriffs all maintain the Zodiac case as officially open. The families of 5 confirmed victims, people whose loved ones were shot on dates, stabbed at a lake, or murdered in a cab on an ordinary San Francisco evening, have waited over 50 years for an answer that has never come. And somewhere in America tonight, someone who was alive in 1968 may know who the Zodiac killer was. May have always known. The crosshair symbol is still drawn on those letters. The ciphers are still partially unsolved. And the greatest mystery in American true crime history remains exactly what it has always been. Completely, maddeningly, magnificently unsolved.